Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll get started. First of all, pray us in. Here's a prayer for migrants. We thank you for opening the hearts of many to those who are fleeing for their lives. Help us now to open our arms in welcome and reach out our hands in support, that the desperate may find your hope and lives torn apart be restored. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, who fled persecution at his birth and at his last triumphed over death.
Amen.
All right, well, thank you all for this presentation, and I'm going to introduce both of the presenters with biographies, because all the details in these biographies are so fascinating. I'm going to just read them out. And before anything else, I want to give a shout out to Susan Jester, to thank her for making the introduction to have Jack and Irving come give this presentation. Okay, so to talk about Casa de Luz in Tijuana, our first presenter is Irving Mondragón. He's the founder and director of Casa de Luz and shelter in Tijuana, Mexico, dedicated to supporting LGBTQ plus asylum seekers and migrants from Central America. With degrees in performing arts from Paris Set and documentary film studies from Bordeaux University, Irving has become a leading advocate for the LGBTQ plus migrant community. He organized Rainbow 17, which was the first caravan of trans and gay immigrants, and has been instrumental in uniting and supporting LGBTQ plus individuals traveling through Mexico. At the El Chagra border camp, Irving launched a kitchen program to provide meals and essential aid to asylum seekers. His tireless work has helped hundreds of refugees safely seek asylum in the U.S., offering both hope and dignity along the way. Jack Nooren, founder of Casa de Luz, immigrated to the United States from Holland at age 10, built a successful career in real estate after settling in the Midwest, later relocating to California in 2008. Alongside his professional work, Jack has long supported a variety of nonprofit causes, including Red Cross, YWCA, Pathways Behavioral Services, and many others. So in 2020, Jack became actively involved with Casa de Luz in Tijuana, a shelter serving LGBTQ asylum seekers. He founded Casa de Luz SD, a US-based nonprofit with a singular mission: to provide consistent monthly financial support for the shelter through fundraising. In addition to leading fundraising efforts, Jack personally owns the Tijuana property where the shelter is located and provides it rent-free. The facility includes 23 dormitory rooms, 6 bathrooms, indoor and outdoor kitchens, and a garden with a cabana, creating a welcoming and supportive environment for refugees seeking safety and hope. With no further ado, Irving and Jack.
Good morning, everyone. Well, we're going to reverse it. I'm going to start first, and then Irving is going to go second. So thank you so much. Happy Pride, everyone. My name is Jack Nooren. I'm the founder of Casa de Luz San Diego. Irving is the founder of Casa de Luz in Tijuana and is the founder of the program. I want to wish everyone a warm welcome. It's an honor to be with you. I'd like to begin today by telling you about Irving Mondragón. Irving is the heart and soul behind Casa de Luz Tijuana. He's an activist, he's a humanitarian, he's a leader, but more than anything, he is a warrior of love and dignity. For over a decade, Irving has walked alongside LGBTQ migrants from Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and other countries. Many of them trans women, gay men, non-binary youth that have faced unspeakable violence in their home countries. Some were beaten, some were imprisoned, some were disowned by their families. and some were nearly killed just for being who they are. Irving has been there every step of the way. He has helped lead several migrant caravans, ensuring LGBTQ asylum seekers no asylum seekers were left behind or erased in the process. He's translated for them, protected them, advocated for them. He stood face to face with government officials, border agents, and international NGOs demanding justice, housing, and basic human rights for queer migrants. He built more than a shelter. He built a family. At Casa de Luz Tijuana, he runs a safe, affirming community for people who would otherwise have nowhere to go. He works tirelessly, day and night, helping people navigate trauma, legal processes, healthcare needs, and the overwhelming fear of the unknown. Irving is not funded by government agencies. He is not backed by institutions. He is fueled entirely by love, courage, and community support like this here today. That's where Casa de Luz San Diego and my role comes in. In 2021, after learning of the vital work that Irving was doing in Tijuana, I knew I had to create a long-term solution, a structure, a foundation to keep his work alive. So I founded Casa de Luz San Diego, a nonprofit based here in San Diego. We're a registered 501c3, and our sole purpose is to raise funds for the needs of the shelter in Tijuana. Every month, our nonprofit sends grants across the border to support the operations, cover the expense of the building, the food, the staff, provide legal assistance and the care for the residents that Irving serves. Today, these are some statistics that I looked up. There are still 67 countries where homosexuality is a crime. In 12 countries, let this sink in 12 countries, being part of the LGBTQ community is punishable by death. 12 countries. This includes Iran, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Nigeria, Afghanistan, Brunei, Pakistan, Qatar, yes, Qatar, Yemen, the United Emirates, Mauritius, and Uganda. It gets worse. Just in the last 2 years, new LGBTQ laws have exploded globally. In Uganda, in May of 23, they added the death penalty for same-sex relationships. In Russia, we have a lot of Russian migrants that are staying with us, and Irving might have a story to tell about that as well. In August of 23, they criminalized LGBTQ community membership. And that's just meaning if you walk around with a pride t-shirt on, or you have a rainbow on your social media, or in any way, shape, or form you associate yourself with a gay community, you are a criminal in the eyes of the government, and you will be arrested and you will be prosecuted. In Ghana, in March of 24, they criminalized identifying as a gay or lesbian. In Iraq, in April of 24, there's 15 years of imprisonment for same-sex relationships. In Peru, they passed a new law in May of 24 labeling transgender people as mentally ill. Mali, Georgia, Hungary, El Salvador, and Puerto Rico all have followed suit with anti-LGBTQ laws over the last 12 months. And just here in the United States, we're stepping back in time. We've passed over 800 anti-trans bills since 2024, since our new government took over. Despite all of this, there is a glimmer of hope. The U.S. asylum process, under Section 208 of our immigration law, people who face persecution due to sexual orientation or gender identity can apply for asylum. Now, currently, that process has stopped because of the fact that under the current administration, they wanted to dial it back and do a reset. So they canceled the app that allowed for asylum seekers to come in for an interview and present themselves at the border. But there is hope. Irving and I just had breakfast, and we talked over breakfast about what is changing currently. And he's hopeful that within by October that there will be a new process in place for asylum seekers to come in. Currently, the only asylum seekers that have come in are some white African farmers, unfortunately. Still, in the United States, when you present yourself for asylum, 80% gets denied in the process because the asylum process is quite complex. You know, when you come in to seek asylum, you first present yourself at the border, you tell them why you are seeking asylum, which the threshold is credible fear, you lived in credible fear, therefore you can apply for asylum in the United States. At that point, the Border Patrol agent or ICE, whoever you're in touch with, will make the decision if that qualifies, and if it does, which obviously that statement warrants it, then the process starts. And first you're enrolled, then you have to go through 2 years of hearings during which you have to present your case, and then 80% of asylum seekers are denied and are sent back to their home country. Fortunately, under the LGBTQ plus community, it's a much higher number that are staying in the United States. It's not 80% being denied, but overall, 80% are being denied. Let's see. Casa de Luz is a place to heal, a place to simply exist without fear. Today, Casa de Luz Tijuana, under Irving's leadership, houses between 50 and 70 residents at any given time. It has served over 2,000 LGBTQ plus asylum seekers just in the past 5 years. But for the first few years, we struggled. We were moving from house to house. I remember meeting Irving in the very early stages where he just had finished another caravan. And I had met him through a mutual friend and social media, and had asked him what his needs were because I wanted to help. And he told me at that point that a lot of people, that this was in 2020 or 2019, I don't even remember, but he told me that the people that were going into ICE, into custody, were going into a holding cell for an extended period of time with bright lights 24 hours a day. And it was very, very, very cold. So I went to Costco and I bought a truckload of hoodies and mittens and warm pants and brought them in all different sizes, so they would be able to cover up their eyes at night and sleep and so forth. So the first few years was a struggle because the house that Irving found when he came back after a long caravan, a caravan is about 90 days, during which they hitchhike and travel on trucks and buses and hop on the back of a train. During that process, he had to find housing in Tijuana because Tijuana is the entry point into the United States and they have to wait there. So he found a house, met a woman, the house was boarded up. He onboarded the house, or we onboarded the house and got it cleaned up and got it functional again, got the utilities turned on and rented it for a year, only to find out that she didn't own the house. So all the money we invested in getting the house ready, we stayed there for several months, but ultimately the real owner of the house showed up and said, what are you doing in my property? This is, and we showed the contract and he's like, I don't know who that person is, that house belongs to me and you need to move out. So our biggest struggle was housing. For the first few years, we moved from home to home and place to place. And at that point, I made a decision. I had a successful career in real estate that I wanted to help out. So Irving told me, if we're going to do something long-term, I want to be in a safe place. Tijuana is one of the most dangerous cities in the world, if not the most dangerous city in the world. But there are pockets in the city that are safer than others. Playas Tijuanas is one of the safest parts. It's the most affluent part. And we found a home that was near the police station and near the beach that was 3 floors that we converted to 23 dormitory bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and 2 kitchens. That renovation process took almost a year, and in that process we received a visit from the government. that said, where is your permit for the shelter? Because you're opening a shelter, you're not allowed to open a shelter at this location. The zoning is not correct. So we hired a lawyer to modify the zoning, to go through the zoning process. And unfortunately, we never were successfully able to do so. We applied multiple times and got turned down multiple times in the process of applying for zoning, to where I almost gave up. I was very sad, and so was Irving, because we got denied over and over again in the process of getting the property rezoned in order to open as a shelter. Ultimately, I was placed in touch with Todd Gloria, our mayor, who was able to contact the city of Tijuana and said, can you help out my friends who are trying to open a shelter? And all of a sudden, some doors started to open for us. And 12 months later, we were able to successfully get our licensing and our zoning. And Todd Gloria came down for the ribbon cutting a few months ago, 3-4 months ago, after several years. And I was so happy that that he came and that he helped us in the process. We're not a big organization, as I shared. We don't have offices in 12 countries and millions of dollars in grants. We're a grassroots organization that are focused on the work that many won't touch. We're funded by people like you, people who care, people who believe that every human being deserves a chance to be safe, to be seen, and to be loved. Now here's where I really need you. We have a QR code that we brought, and Irving is going to present here shortly, but the QR code is our lifeline. That's where help that you hopefully will be able to help us with will help us keep our doors open. Every single dollar goes towards the shelter to keep LGBTQ asylum seekers safe. We have minimal expenses because we don't pay rent. Irving has been a volunteer ever since he started, doesn't get a salary. We don't have any salaried personnel, not in San Diego and not in Tijuana. We have a lawyer that helps with the asylum process and make sure that our paperwork is in order, but even see volunteers about 50% of the time. So we keep our overhead very low. If you are able to help us today, I'm going to put something in perspective that $25 buys food for a week for one resident. $50 provides gender-affirming care and hygienic products. $100 support will help with legal aid for an asylum case. $500 will help cover all the expenses to operate the property for an entire month. And $1,000 will help keep the shelter open for an entire week. So we have brought with us beautiful pens that we just got. These are brass pens that just came in. They're really nice. They say Casa de Luz, and then our website is on it. It has a rainbow and the bridge. The bridge represents the crossing from Tijuana into San Diego, into the United States. So for anyone that makes a donation of any kind, we will have a pin for you. Let's see. I think I'm almost at the end here, and Irving is, let's see, where am I at? I think that kind of concludes it for me. My pages are a bit messed up here, but I really appreciate everyone coming today. Irving is going to talk more about the history of the shelter and perhaps why he got involved. But thank you once again for inviting us, and I'm going to hand it over here to one of my best friends, Irving.
Good morning, hello everybody. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was direct to my heart. I am very honored to be here today. It is the first time that I will be able to have a speech. I love Mexico. I'm really glad to do it with you. We already were here in dark moments. This is just a cycle that happens, and we go there. And this speech, what we are doing is against oblivion. but this is to forge memory. So we start supporting asylum seekers, LGBT asylum seekers, because I identify as gay. After my studies, I was trying to do a documentary movie about people, Mexican people, indigenous people defending their land, but against the government that wanted to reconvert it as ecotourism. While I was doing many interviews, I noticed that not so far from there, people were not defending their land, they were fleeing Central America. So it was a new paradigm for me, because we were like 50 kilometers away from one situation to the other. I just crossed the mountain and I went there to a shelter, and I discovered that thousands of people were abandoned in Central America, and I met a lot of LGBT people. I started interviewing them from Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, Nicaragua. I realized that it was really, really hard what they were facing. I got my doubts, and after the interviews I did, I went to those countries. I traversed the countries, I went to the places they told me, and I noticed it's true, all they were telling me. The places they got robbed, the places they were raped, the places they were destroyed as human being, it was true. So without knowing what to do, I just collect some interviews because I wanted to do a documentary movie with all of them. And I tried to get some funds to help them to go to Mexico City, because at that moment Mexico City was the king city, was friendly, was supposed to be an option for the LGBT community, but it wasn't. When we arrived, transgender women were denied to get HIV medication. They were forced to live in the street, they were forced to do prostitution, they were harassed by the policemen, by men, all kinds of horrible situations. So we stopped the idea that it will be a safe place for them. We start finding opportunities for all of them. And it was more than evident that the only solution will be to help them to go to the United States. It wasn't easy at all, because we organized the first transgender caravan, transmigrant caravan, and we were facing migration, Mexican authorities, the policemen, corruption, coyotes, people trying to kidnap us, people, narco-traffic, all kind of horrible stories happened. The first caravan was 2 months just to arrive at Nogales, which is in front of Tucson, Arizona. On the last day, we were there, the narcos arrived, they took the head. We were forced to do a small caravan at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning to go to the border and please ask authorities to let them go in. And they did it, but they were put in detention. Some of them were put 2 months, some of them 3 months, some of them magic. I didn't know the system, how they could apply asylum. I just try to understand and find support for all of them. I mean, first they go to ice boxes, that it's they are held in detentions under call for minimum 72 hours. They can stay there for a week, and they go into detention. No, they have uniforms, they are on jail, they are like this and that. It's very inhuman. Once you go in detention, you have no access to medication, you have no access to nutritious food. They don't listen to you. You have to go through the system. So I realized that was the worst. Detention centers for me is the worst, to lose your freedom just because you are seeking asylum. This is how I realized that they are criminalizing migrants. And more than that, it is not just in the United States, it was also in my country, Mexico, no? So I got very frustrated about how Mexico treats migrants. asylum seekers, refugees, criminalizing them. Most of them, if they seek asylum in Mexico, they will not be granted, and if you are granted, you have no support. They will not give you support, food, medication, you have no place to live, you have nothing at all, you just have a document and you have to start your life. So this was not the idea. I had to support asylums, no? So through that time I met more and more people that were trying to organize just to traverse Mexico, because it was very hard, and caravans started. We did the first agenda caravan, then a big group gathered in south of Mexico, close to the border with Guatemala. We did 3 different caravans here in Tijuana, because the other part of Mexico, Monterrey, is where cartels and coyotes and all these kidnapping industries was destroying their lives, so we opened a new road. We arrived 3 times in caravan to Tijuana. The first time we arrived with 10,000 people. I was in charge of the LGBT community, and it was very hard because everybody was refusing to give us food, to approach us. We went through different shelters, we went through different churches, we went through different spaces that were supposed to be safe, but we were not allowed to enter. All people could enter. We were forced to stay outside, sleep in the street. Maybe they give us 1 blanket for 2 people. Maybe they share with us some food. And well, it is not about me, it's about them, it's about us, because I realized the treatment they addressed to us, this is not dignity. When we arrived the first time, after all this trip, I was traveling with people very ill. One of them was my friend Roxana. She got HIV, and during this journey we were not able to obtain any medication. But everybody was telling me that once we will go to the United States, she will get the medication, she will be safe. And we did it like this. We arrived in Tijuana, we request for a number because there was a system just to cross, wait for the number more than a month, but they never called them just to be able to present their cases and seek asylum. And we faced the most horrible situation that could happen. We were traveling also with unaccompanied minors, and the narco traffic tried to take them and force them to sell drugs. And we were just trying to protect them because we were traveling together, and we became family, caravan family, LGBT family. I don't know how to tell it, but they were part of our family. And when we tried to protect them, they just burned out our shelter. They tried to suffocate us in a room where they put guns in the transgender woman. When the immigration Mexican system noticed that, the next day they put us in a bus to cross. But while we were going to Pet West Chaparral, one of the transgender women was beaten. His face was destroyed, she was bleeding everywhere. I ran to the border with her in my arms just to give it to the authorities to see if they could do something. The same night, a lesbian woman was raped by a man that says that because she was lesbian, she needed to know what it means to be a woman. And we were brutalized. And as soon as all of them crossed, I just went back to Guatemala to continue supporting the people. I realized that my friends that got HIV, she died. She was murdered while she was in icebox and moving to Cibola detention center. There was a specific detention center for transgender women. She was murdered. And this is how my trauma started. I decided that I would do my best. It will be my mission to support our LGBT community, because what was happening was inhuman. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a battle against Biblia. This is memory, because we are facing a similar situation. We are under the same presidency that create all the disaster, all the chaos. But also, I remember very well how you, the Americans, united, start supporting and showing how support against all that was happening, and that changed our life. After these caravans, I met Jack, I met much other allies, other people that were giving us hope. They were taking care of us little by little, and that helped us to continue waiting at the border, because the last caravan when we arrived at Tijuana was 2018. We were traveling with 14,000 people. So we were forced to stay in Mexico because the new president at the moment, AMLO, he criminalized not just migrants, he criminalized activists, human rights defenders, anybody who was close to migrants, trying to feed them, to support them, to find buses, hitchhiking, medication. And the last caravan was horrible because most of my Mexican friends, some activists, were arrested, criminalized, on jail, and I was lucky to make it to Tijuana. But when we arrived there were no shelter for us. We were traveling not just with the LGBT community, but unaccompanied minors and single women. And in Tijuana, they told us that there is no place for us. And the LGBT community should stay 2 kilometers away from any other shelter. So we couldn't remain together as caravan family, as people displaced, trying to be together. And this is how we intervene and we create this house. We arrived at an abandoned location at the end of Playa de Tijuana. As Jack said, during this year, we discovered that the house that was rented to us did not belong to the owner, was a different owner, but was much more than that. Even if we were too happy to find an abandoned house and be together, have our friends together, we face horrible situation. Going outside to clubs or discotheques was not an option. We were going to be transgressed. Being in the street was a problem because they were arresting everybody, because in Mexico there is no free transit. Not right now, not 6 years ago, they are just criminalizing migrants. I know that maybe right now you have a different idea about our government is, it is criminalizing migrants, and we are desperate because there is no hope. As you can see here, this is the first house we have here together, all together. We put windows, we put doors, we had some donations, we were very happy, but they were always transgressing us, no? He's Wato, he was 17 years old at that time. He was trying to seek asylum, but it took him 3 years just to make it, At that time, we believed that there is no hope, we will all be in Tijuana forever, there is no asylum process for anybody, but things change.
Yeah, this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to just highlight really quick. This is the house I was telling you about that we rented, or we thought we rented from the wife owner, only to find out that we actually go in the house. And when Vernon arrived or it was the third, fourth time with a group, I decided, it would be nice to go out for dinner and drinks instead of long voyage. So we rented a van and we went. We actually that house, it was a group completely dressed in black that were anti the LGBTQ, but it was later 9, 10 o'clock at night. We came out of a bar after we had the drink, and they attacked us, the whole group. I remember I was on the ground myself, and Gordon, and we were all running in the direction. We were with 20 people, so it's like happening everywhere. And Watso, because the kind of less space, broke the speaker, so with this charitable experience. So they finally think they're safe, and we're not. We're still being that extra, crossing the border to the United States or to just into like so. Yeah, this was my first interaction with Irving. He banned the program where I came in nations urged Irving and Australia. Unfortunately, that we stayed there. I'll need to say this. Yeah, it's a lot of special scenes. And what to what?
Yes, at that moment, we have to say that the NPP program was restored. The Mexican program protocols, that means every asylum seeker crossing to the border was sent back to Mexico to remain in Mexico more than a year. Next year, we know what happened. COVID happened, so everything stopped. It was horrible times at that moment. We moved into the new location. We found an abandoned gym. We could move there. We were hosting more than 100 persons. And I was impressed by the resilience, even if everything was against us. The COVID, the MPP, the governments, the presidencies, we were able to remain together and going together. In 2000...
Hello, test, okay. So yeah, here we arrived at the new location that Irving found. It was a gym. The way that we had it set up was we had tents inside the gym. So we had many tents. You'd walk in, it was a big open space, bigger than this room. And it was filled with little dome tents, and everyone had their own space in there. But that's the best we could do with the money we had. And one thing I decided to do was around Christmas time is to reach out to my circle of friends and help buy presents for everyone. So everyone in the shelter wrote a letter that year that stated why they left their home country, why they left their family, why they left their life behind, and what they were looking for going forward. And lots of the letters were insanely emotional, very compassionate, because they weren't seeking gifts, they were seeking safety, they were seeking love, they were seeking acceptance. And so letter after letter after letter, I had tears coming down my face because every letter was so insanely compassionate, or asking for love, acceptance, and affection. But we had an amazing Christmas. Irving cooked a beautiful meal, a Christmas meal, and this was in 2020. It was a beautiful experience. But that didn't last long because of the fact that the owner of the building didn't like the migrants coming and going. He demanded more rent, wanted more money, and ultimately I told Irving, let's start looking for a home that we can buy, that we can own ourselves. And so we finally found this property back in 2021 that is 3 stories. It's only a couple of blocks away from the beach, and I bought it and started renovating it. And in the process of renovation, the government came over and tried to shut us down in Tijuana, which was very unfortunate and very, it was very scary because the house had already been purchased and closed on. The contractor had been hired. The money had been invested to get it ready, and here the government is saying, we're not allowing you to open the doors. And that process went on for a long time. Go ahead, you take over.
Yes, at the same time, while Jack was pushing this house, Biden was elected. On the 13th February 2021, Biden said that 3,000 migrants will be crossing daily from Tijuana to the United States to seek asylum. So after release, On the 19th February 2021, all migrants gathered at the Chaparral port of entry, requesting for a document or paper just to start seeking asylum, and they decided to stay there. Our friends living in the house with those asylum seekers, they went to the border, and they decided to stay also. So it came naturally to have a meeting with all of us and decided to do something because they were in the same situation. Actually, I was very glad to see migrants gather after pandemic, after all this time, and people in the house, I mean, our lesbian friends, gay friends, transgender, decided to cook for all of them. So they start cooking at home and bringing the food to the encampment and coming back home, cooking more food, and after one day was not just food, was tents, after were blankets, after what toys for kids, after what many things, and it was led by the LGBT community, this encampment. We didn't say it loud because we have a problem with our visibility. We cannot be very visible, but we were behind the whole organization of the encampment. We were there, we did a school, we did a kitchen, we organized the encampment, we have different commissions for security, we have 7 different communities, big communities from different countries. It was not just Spanish, it was also French, it was English, all kind of different language. And
medical care. We had a medical station, but we had about 1,800 tents.
Yes.
1,800 tents. So I remember going and crossing the border. I would look at Amazon in the morning, and there would be another 15 or 20 tents that arrived at my door, and I would bring them across. But Irving is the one that started the kitchen because everyone that was there was not getting nutritious meals. They were not getting fed, and they were all looking for asylum and left because of poverty. Our community is the gay community, but there's many people that left because of famine. There was no food to feed their family. They needed a better future. Again, the threshold of credible fear. And so we were able to provide consistent, nutritious meals. We helped them with tents. We helped them with sleeping bags. We helped with water. And then because of the fact that Biden finally gave hope again, we started a campaign with t-shirts and signs that said, "Biden, please let us in." Everyone had a unique and sad and emotional story as to why they left their country, why they needed a new space, a new place to live. And at that point, I recognized that Irving had such a big heart because he was no longer just focused on our program. He was focused on the entire camp, the entire group of migrants that all were seeking a better, safer future for their family. And I was very glad to be part of that. So, go ahead, Irving.
This camp was at the
Chaparral. This was in Tijuana, Chaparral, where we had 1,800 tents at the very height. There were over 2,000 migrants there at all times, and we helped with tents. It was winter time, part of the time.
It was not just the
No. We had our own little sub camp within the camp. That was the Rainbow Camp, but because our shelter wasn't big enough to house, so we had people in our shelter, and we had people staying at the camp that were part of our community. But we basically oversaw the entire camp and helped with medical needs, helped with sleeping bags and tents and meals and all that things. And Irving organized nearly 100% of everything there. So he wasn't loved by the government because people in transit and migrants communicate when they can with people back home. So the message back home was, we found a safe place where we get meals, where we get a tent, and where we can wait until it's our time to cross. With that message out there, more people came. And so that's why We, sometimes had issues because the government didn't like the fact that this was a safe space, and all of a sudden people were coming in bigger numbers. But all these people came not just to come to the US. They left their country and their family and their friends because they didn't have food on the table. They didn't, we can't imagine that. It's hard to envision that. We're dealing with the people that left because of persecution, because they cannot say who they are, they cannot say they're part of a gay community, because it's illegal, and because there's no acceptance, not by their family, not by their friends, and not by their work. And when the word gets out, they get pushed out the door by their family. Many migrants that I've met in our program are young, very, very young, kicked out of their home by their mom and dad because they are gay or lesbian or identify as trans. And that's where we come in. And very often they will reach out. Irving is always in communication with people that are still at home, crying, sitting on their bed, thinking, should I leave or should I stay? And then he starts the conversation because they want to know, when they get to the border of the United States, what is going to happen? Is there a spot for me? And so Irving starts often the conversations early, and they come over a period of, the travel takes 2-3 months, and then they, because they don't have a budget, they don't have much money, and so they hitchhike, take buses, or the most economical ways to travel, and ultimately arrive where we will welcome them with open arms, and they finally can be free as to who they are. I've seen so many people arrive in our shelter that transitioned right in front of us. They have identified as a trans man or a trans woman, but really were too scared to be themselves and to show who they are. And in front of our eyes, we see them transitioning and blossoming and feeling happy and feeling safe in our home, which is really what our goal is to make people feel safe and give them a home to be until they can seek asylum into the United States.
And it was very important to mention that the kitchen is the heart of our house. The last caravan we did in 2019, before arriving here, we were traveling with pots, with gas tanks, with tables, because nobody wanted to feed us. And the LGBT decided to travel city by city, village by village, and little by little more people joined us and were traveling with us, because the situation was horrible and everybody was ill. So we understood that it is the heart, because if we have no nutritious food, healthy food, we will always be ill, and if we are ill, we cannot think, and if we cannot think, we cannot do anything. So it became an evidence that we needed to do that, and we did the same with the encampment. We start with the food, with providing love and care through nutritious food. When Jack found a new house and we did the first opening, we moved into that location. It was the first time we did not pay rent. We had not that pressure of somebody that was profiting from us without having the document, or somebody as the owner of the gym that was thinking that this is a business, and that migrants are business, and this are good to profit from them and taking resources.
Don't you stated that you own a house now, right? If you're not just renting a house.
Yes, the house belongs to Jack, and he remodeled it.
Okay. Wasn't quite clear to me only.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We when I got involved with Irving, and when I met Irving, and when I saw that he is in my opinion, like Mother Teresa. He doesn't get paid. He helps people. He only gives to others, and he's very compassionate about what he does. And he's done this for all his life, forever. What was the biggest struggle? The biggest struggle was housing. We always needed a safe space for people to arrive and to thrive and to plan their future, to come into the United States. Since housing was unstable, because we were always, in the first a few years I worked with Irving. We found a home that we rented that wasn't belonging to the woman that she said she owned it. So we paid her rent, and then the next one was the gym. We had struggles there. You know, it was filled with mice and cockroaches and bed bugs, and it was not a great place to be. In addition, he continued to raise the rent because he saw that we had lots of migrants. He thought we were collecting rents from these migrants, which we were not. And that's why he's saying that it was, you know, it's obviously that a landlord would charge rent. I don't oppose to that. I'm a landlord myself, so I'm not opposed to that. But he was every month coming to us for more because he would see that we had more migrants and therefore we needed to pay more rent. And so it wasn't working, and it was unstable, and it was month to month, and we didn't have a long-term contract, and we couldn't build a future within the program. So therefore, I had a very successful year in real estate and decided I wanted to invest into the program long-term, and the best way to do that was through housing. So we bought this 3-story building that's close to the beach in a very, very safe part of Tijuana and Playas, the safest part. And started the renovation process, only to find out after it was done and we moved in, and we were convinced if we hired the right lawyer and maybe pay some bribes under the table, as happens in Tijuana, that we could get our licensing, that we could get our zoning changed. But we are in an affluent area. In an affluent area, other people have checkbooks too. And so we were not able to get across the threshold when it comes to zoning. We were not able to get our licensing, and we tried over and over again, and we were paying our lawyers, and we weren't getting anywhere. So we had the grand opening because we had to move, but we moved in without a license and without the zoning, and the fear, the dark cloud hanging over our head. Are we able to stay here, or are we going to need to move out at some point? So we did do our ribbon cutting, even though we were very nervous about it. Because we really didn't have the legal right to be there. But we still wanted to celebrate, and we were hopeful that ultimately the government would come around. They would see that we're doing good things, that we're respectful of the neighbors, that we're not causing any ruckus in the neighborhood, and that the neighbors that were against us all of a sudden would some miraculously way embrace us, which didn't happen. But over the next few years, you know, we continued to build, and we finally got a hold of Todd Gloria in 2023. I met with Todd, supported this campaign. He's like, I'm gonna help you out. So he was the one that called the mayor in Tijuana, and he's the one that helped us get to where we are, to where in 2025, I'm skipping a year here, is where we had another ribbon cutting. So we had one in 2022. Was it 2020? Yeah, 2022. But then we had to wait from 2022 to 2025 to actually get our licensing and to get our zoning changed. And then not only did Todd Gloria come to the ribbon cutting, but the mayor, the new mayor of Tijuana was there. So this is Irving, this is the mayor of Tijuana, and this is the mayor of San Diego. And that's me, and then the president of Casa de Luz San Diego, Carla, who unfortunately could be in today. Also, Councilman Steve Whitburn was at the grand opening, and then Ryan Bedrosian that owns Riches, and Mo that owns Gossip Grill, that all are big supporters of our program were there, and we were so happy because finally we had the safety of our zoning and our licensing. So I think we're approaching the end, I think, and I also want to open this up to questions if anyone has questions. And then the most important board is right here, which is a QR code. This is to keep our program moving forward. Normally we have a big pride pool party and we raise $50,000 a year. We haven't had that in 2 years because I sold my home and we no longer have the ability to do it there. So right now our donations are much smaller, and I told Irvin over breakfast that we're having struggles raising money every month to keep going. But that's why I'm glad we got invited here, and we had another event like this on Friday where people like you help us keep our mission going forward and help us stay positive, because sometimes you lose hope in the process. You work so hard and you recognize that you can't keep the doors open. So what we did for all of you, we brought pins, and obviously we want to open up to questions, but if anyone decides to make a donation to us, it's on the honor system. Claim your pin, and I am so very, very happy that you invited us to come and present to you today, and for you to come down. Irving didn't know how long it was going to take. He just got his tourist visa to enter the United States, so he has never, this is his second, third time into the United States, and he didn't know how long it would take, so he left at 4 a.m. this morning, sat on the front stoop here at 6 a.m. this morning because he had no idea how long it would take, and he waited from 6 to 9. We went to Crest Cafe and had some eggs really quick, but in order to present to you all this morning. So thank you very much, Irving, for coming. I love you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you for being here, and I can let you know that we don't have to be scared. Unfortunately, migratory policies change every 4, 6, 9 months, every 12 months, every year. We already faced the MPP program, we faced the COVID, we went through the encampment, we went there after the ban of asylum, and right now we are at this moment. So let's keep hope, and if you could help us with our mission, to continue our mission, I appreciate it very much. Yeah, thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, so you are quickly for this. You have options. If you take a picture of this, automatically click on the little yellow dot on your phone, and then it takes you to a donation phase where you get your $5 to the $5,000. There are different numbers, and it shouldn't take you very easily there. It's just very easy to operate. So if any,
Well, do you have to do that, or can I just give you some money?
you can give us money, that really recognizes it doesn't go to us. So we have two organizations.
I understand that.
It goes directly to
You do take cash, yep.
Actually, we could.
So,
Yeah.
any,
Good.
yeah,
We
any
take
other-
retirement funds, we leave doing some stars.
I'm just,
Yeah, it's sure, and only does it in Easter. Well, so definitely.
And any questions for the presenters? And a round of applause. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Don't say.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said, how are things in their neighborhood now? You've been there a couple of years. How are they doing now?
So, we come to find out that 90%, 95% of our neighbors absolutely love us. They come and make donations, they drop off excess food, they bring us clothes, and there's always one or two, that are like anti-LGBTQ or anti-change. Some people don't like change, they can't deal with change. And we have a lady that's a couple of doors down. She owns she's a seamstress, very nice lady, but she is, I think, the one in the neighborhood that just does not like gay people, and they don't want gays living in the neighborhood because they're going to destroy the nation or whatever. So she is, from what I know, the only one that's not on our side, but everyone around us is very, very supportive. As a matter of fact, some of our refugees work as cleaners or help with gardening or do specific chores. So even neighbors have offered jobs around or to our asylum seekers, small jobs that they gladly take. So any other questions? Yes.
okay.
I have two brief questions. One relating to immigration. My understanding is that somebody's been tried to cross the border illegally, then they're no longer eligible to enter the United States. Is that true of your population as well? And then the second question is completely unrelated. And that's, I was just curious as to what Chairman Major was.
I'm not urban as a bold, but what I'd like to use time, I'm like very short, because I know it's a long answer to understand. Sir.
Well, since the new president was elected, asylum is back, totally back. that there is no way to seek asylum right now. I will talk about someone that was living in our house. He is a gay man coming from Russia, and he was trying to exercise his right to seek asylum because he's considered terrorist in his country. He was in jail 2 months just to discover that he was deported to Egypt. But after being in Egypt, he was sent to Russia. He was interrogated at the airport. Now he's a terrorist, considered terrorist for Russia, and he was forced to evacuate his country as fast as possible. So right now, he went to different, he was to Kazakhstan, he went then to Thailand. He tried to make it here to Mexico, entering from Tijuana. But what I can tell you is all asylum seekers that are being deported right now have a migratory alert. So it's almost impossible for them after being deported to make it to American continent. I mean, from Alaska to Argentina, they will be better. So it is not just that. We have a lot of people that were living in our house that are being detained right now. They will held more than a year in detentions. They are just being moved into detention center. Once they won their case, they are just being moved, and they are practically trying to force them to start their case again. So it's very complicated.
Discrimination. Did you have your background lit up with your national stuff when was started out? You said you started doing this after you didn't.
Yes, I did cinema studies, documentary cinema studies. I wanted to portray the reality as it is. But what was happening with our LGBT community, I was identified myself because I was migrant 9 years in Europe, and I went through a lot. But at that moment was the narco-traffic war in Mexico, and I couldn't even say that I was abandoning because of narco-traffic war. So that was another moment. And I decided to stop because the camera, it's a peaceful weapon. I can record everything, and after this helped with their cases, to have proofs to show, to push their cases to grant asylum. But I decided to stop doing this for a while and just make a step and do what any human is supposed to do: support their siblings and to solve.
It was a question.
If we know someone who has a pool, what would the fundraisers look like, and what would that conversation look like?
Well, that's very kind of you. We actually used to raise. People were paying $100 to come to the pool party, but then we also had live music, we had a DJ. So it sometimes means that there's going to be I think it was on Sunday. Yes, it was on Sunday today, from 12 to 4. It's we limit it to the number of people that the person would allow. We've been in discussions with a number of different homeowners that have a pool but haven't found a place where it quite worked out. But it was, we would raise thousands of dollars because we had corporate sponsors that would come in. There's a pharmaceutical company that gave significant amounts of money, and they wanted their name on the event, and so we would be able to commercialize the event through sponsorships, through door entryways, and to increase the visibility. So we had a short speech. The speech was literally 5-10 minutes about our program, and the rest of it was just a dance party, and people gladly paid for it. But then within the community, to be honest with you, people would come because it was a fun party, not necessarily because they wanted to support our program, which was, my reason for hosting it. But they came because it was a really fun party. So anyway, that was a great question, and I would love to connect with you after if that's something you're interested in exploring.
Hey, we can provide a DJ.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
That
one of our
sounds great.
sextons is a major.
Amazing.
Okay, perfect. Love it. Absolutely love it. And this space is so beautiful right here. I mean, we could do some events here in the future.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
No pool.
Thank Irving and
We could have baby
and
pool.
Jack and all of you for being here today.
Would anyone like a pin before you leave? Please let me know, and I will bring pins around. I'm not going to ask if you donated, but if you did, I love you even more.
And next week's forum is called Memories of Jerusalem. Is McKinnon and Rabbi Graubert, both of whom have written novels reflecting using Jerusalem as a point of reflection. And this should be a fascinating forum next week. So come and bring a friend.
Thank you for inviting us.